Hi, this is Cheryl back with you from Farmhouse Frugally with 3 gorgeous vintage spring flips. Make sure you stay to the end. I got this mirror at the dump a few months ago and love the fact that it is oval. I love the oval shape. Good size. Not a fan of the toll painting on the side, so I decided, in keeping with my watercolor pictures that I have been doing recently in my bedroom, that I would go ahead and paint this with Annie Sloan Pure White, and it did end up taking 3 coats of paint. Then I went out and printed another one of the free graphics online that had those same romantic feeling watercolor look to it, and then realized I had to change the hardware, which was on the edge, and I needed it on the top. And then once I did that, I did quickly spray it with a Rust-Oleum 2-time matte finish so that I would be able to decoupage. Otherwise, it reactivates the chalk paint. I went ahead and Mod Podged that. I had printed that out on rice paper and then just Mod Podged it on. Now, I only did the Mod Podge underneath this and not on top, because Mod Podging on the top can sometimes add to the wrinkles, and I really didn't want that. Plus, I didn't mind the matte finish that the rice paper gave this. Considering it's just going to hang on my wall, I didn't feel the need to go and do any major amount of protection. I did, however, take a gold rub and buff and just a brush, and then added a little sparingly at first and then a little more here and there to give it a look as if it is a gold frame underneath and some of the gold is peeking through, because the other 2 frames that I have already hanging in my bedroom both have that gold peeking through, and I want the 3 of them to look similar. And that is all I did to this. I absolutely love the way this wall is beginning to look. I love the feel of this romantic watercolor. I just think it is beautiful. So there they are right now, and you'll have to let me know what you think of that. And that takes me on to my second item, which is this cute little pitcher. Unfortunately, it has a crack in it. I actually like the color, and but I need to fix the big chip that was taken out. So I just took some paper clay and some glue, just glued that on and molded that to fill in so that I would be able to paint over this. Before I do, I decide, while I have some clay out, to take these cute little bird molds that I had gotten on Amazon last year. They're very small. They don't look it on Amazon, so I was a little surprised when I saw how tiny they were. But they come in handy for a few different projects so far. So I put the paper clay in, rubbed it, and then it's a very flexible silicone, so you can just flip it right out pretty easily. And I do one of the big ones, and then I bought a really small bird one, and so I did several of the very tiny birds, and some that I'll use today and some that I'll just keep. I'm just using up the rest of the clay I had in my hand. Now, once these are done, I like to glue them on while they are still wet and pliable, especially if my surface is not flat, which this clearly is not. So I just used Elmer's glue. I have used wood glue in the past. If I'm putting it on something wood, you can use any generic glue here that will dry fine. And Elmer's worked just perfectly fine for me for this particular application. And then I did wait until they were completely dry before I went further, because I didn't want them moving around. So once that was done, just put a little towel under it to keep it from wiggling. And then this is the color that I had mixed up in the last video, and it came out real lumpy. So I decided I'm not going to throw the paint away. I'm just going to use it with some baking soda. And this was the perfect item to use this on. So just taking the baking soda and 50-50 pretty much, stirred that up real good, and then took a chip brush and really just pounce that everywhere. This has a fair amount of detail already on this picture, which I really like. And I do know that the more concrete looking it is, the less likely the birds will stand out significantly, but it did give it a little bit of detail, and I do like the way that that ends up looking. I needed only the one coat of this because I made it pretty thick, and I am putting it on pretty generously. And then I decide to do the inside lip. It's unlikely I'm going to use this for anything with water or anything anyway, but just in case sometime I decide to use it as a vase, I decide to just do the inside lip with this paint. Now, this paint is a mocha color with some Annie Sloan's white chalk paint. The mocha was a latex that I used on my bedroom wall, and just mixed that. So it's kind of almost taupe. And then that is how it looks, and I decide to just take out the white wax and go over that. It didn't make a significant difference color-wise, but it is protecting the paint, and a little bit of white wax will get into the crevices on that detail, which I really like the look of. And then it does tone down the color a little bit, so it does look a little bit more cream here. And then just took a rag or a napkin or something and wipe that back just to keep the wax in the crevices. And that is all I did to this, but I really love the way that this came out. It matches the items that I have in my bedroom, and it's just very springy and cute, and it was free at the dump, so nothing to lose there. So you'll have to let me know what you think of that. And that is taking me on to my third and absolute most favorite flip today, although I have to say these first two I love as well. I'm very pleased with all of these today. And the third one is a piece of piano my husband had brought home. It is huge. I should have measured it. I have no idea how long it is, but it is very long. And I have a number of pieces from this old piano that got broken down and moved because I wanted to do something unique with it. And on the back side, it has a brown edge, which is actually the back. I'm not sure what it was glued to or attached to or whatever, but for me, I want to use the back side of this for this today. And I took out the white chalk paint and a large chip brush, and I am just starting a little bit sparingly at first and then continuing to add more and more of the white chalk paint on that until I get the look I'm going for two reasons. One, I want some of the black to show through the white, but also I know that when I'm done with this, I am going to put a spray poly or Rust-Oleum on top to protect it. And sometimes when you do that, when you spray on chalk paint, it does bring out the back color a little bit more toward the front. So probably when I spray this, I'm waiting for a warmer day, which it's supposed to hit 50 this week, so that would be amazing. Once I get that, then I do believe that it is going to show a little bit more of the black coming through. But for now, I am fairly heavy with a dry brush on this. And of course, being the chalk paint, it is going over that shiny surface nicely. No need for anything in between those. Now, once I have this done and it dries, I took a rag around the outside edge and just, I cleared away any paint that got on the brown edge because I really did like that to look almost like it was framed. Now I have this beautiful transfer my husband bought me last Christmas. It is called Remarkable Garden, and the two distributors are listed here. And I took out my large farmhouse letters. The black stays on ink, and then, oh, here I am just cutting out the pieces and parts of that transfer that I want to use on this. And I am trying to make sure, it's hard when you put letters on to make sure that it looks centered, so to speak, because I am typing. I am stamping vintage on one side of the center and fines on the other. And so I know, obviously, they're not exactly going to be centered, but that's okay. I think it came out fine. And just pressing down the letters where I want them, and that ink took right to the chalk paint. Amazing, looks great. And then finished the other. And then once I am done with this, I am going to go ahead and lay down some of these transfers. Actually is it's for a large piece of furniture. It comes in like 12 sheets and you do a whole garden. And then it had a couple of pieces that were not part of the garden, which is what I'm using here. So once I get a nice piece of furniture at the dump, I may very well use that whole rest of it on one piece. And I love this color. If you have seen my spring decor from last year, you'll note that I had used a lot of corals and pinks in my Valentine's and in my spring decorating, and I just absolutely love this color with the wood tones that I have in my home. So I thought that this would be lovely with that. And I just went ahead and I had to cut off a little bit of this transfer so that it would fit nicely, and there's no need to waste it. I can use it in the center of this little corner, and so that's what I'm doing here. And after I just took that, and you'll note with I know I do it a little different than a lot of other people. I like to just run over it and get it to adhere, and then I like to catch an air bubble. I personally find that that works well for me, is I just give it like a little lift and then catch the air bubble and then use the paddle to push the air, and that tends to keep it from breaking and missing the little pieces here and there, which you can sometimes do if you just pull on it like I'm doing right here. So anyway, that is just a tip for you. If you like to use these transfers, I find that that works very well. And then to go ahead and rub over it with the plastic to burnish it down, gets some of the edges. I find the IOD burnishes better than this brand. And here it is finished. I told you it was huge. It must be almost 6 feet tall. And it looks so beautiful with my wreath that I made last year. I thought that this looked really lovely here over my black bench. And so I moved the wreath into this room for this shot. So drop me a comment and let me know what you would like to see next. Continue on with spring, or just do some regular trash to treasures or something else. I would really appreciate it if you would hit subscribe. It doesn't cost a thing and it helps me a lot. And I thank you for stopping by. I will see you in the next one. Take care.